So I'm going to show you how I practice in the Valorant shooting range because I've gone from being able to hit three bots on medium using the overflicking drill to regularly hitting 20. I think I have broken down the drill to the point where anyone could follow these steps and see, like, introspect on each link in the chain of hitting a successful dead zone shot and improve every link in the chain, but also see which links in the chain most need improvement. So without further verbiage, I'm just going to show a raw look at my practice routine, and you can steal with it whatever you think is valuable. First, I turn on medium bots, and then I just practice flicking through the bot's head and resetting. I flick through the head and then stop and reset to the center. I'm basically trying to draw horizontal lines as straight as I can right through the head, and I'm not shooting or moving. The point of this is essentially as the first thing you do in the range, just to wake you up a little bit, to get used to moving your mouse, and to spend some time explicitly focusing on only fast horizontal crosshair movement, stopping about a dead zone's width or length away from the head of each of these bots. Hopefully the medium drill wakes you up. If you want, you can pause the video and do that multiple times. After I do medium, I do the exact same thing on hard. Just try to flick through their heads and minimize vertical movement and stop at the right time. This is tricky, but all you have to do is move your hand and arm. I find that anytime I do anything with hard bots, even though it's stressful, that stress amps up my system and makes the medium bots seem a lot slower. That effect doesn't seem to wear off either. I seem to always be able to reliably gaslight myself into thinking that medium is easy after doing hard. And I apologize in advance for any sniffles. I have a slight cold. Anyway, after you practice just the overflicking movement on hard bots, then you want to incorporate movement for the first time. And to make it a gradual learning curve, go to easy bots. You want to overflick and strafe these easy bots and end with your crosshair exactly in the center of the bot's head. So you do the same flick through motion and then sidestep and micro adjust onto the bot's heads. One thing that I've noticed from watching pros spend time in the range is that you'd think they'd reset their crosshair to the exact middle, but they don't. They often have it a little bit over to the left. And the reason I think that is at least for right-handed people, it's easier to flick to the right than to the left. So you want to bias your crosshair slightly left to get 50-50 kill probability on either side. Otherwise, your weak side would be a little bit less. You'll have to sort of figure out through iteration and reflection where exactly the middle is relative to your ability to flick to either side, because it may not be the exact center line of the range. So notice I haven't shot a single bot yet. That's by design. If you find that when you're doing medium bots, you underflick sometimes, or are sort of panic clicking too soon, feel free to spend as much time as you need on easy bots. Doing it again just because I feel like I'm still waking up this morning. And you can also do it the first time you do it, isolate all the steps to flick, move, micro adjust, flick, move, micro adjust. And then the second time you do it, you can, it kind of sucks when that happens in the middle of comp games. Not sure why it's doing that. I hope it's not a problem with my graphics card. Anyway, the more you can relax and just automatically move your crosshair and your feet in the appropriate directions, the more automatic it will be when you do the full drills. I also noticed that it's useful to stand closer than you might think. Like, even if you go up a little bit, I guess you don't want to go up like too much, but it's better to err on being close rather than far. I see some people doing this drill and they're way back here. You're just lowering your hit probability by giving yourself a smaller target. So make sure you're close enough that you can barely see the bottom of this, if at all. Anyway, after you do easy bots, then it's finally time to shoot something. So you do the easy bots and shoot. And your goal is never shoot too early and miss. Try to shoot as close as you can to the center of the head. If you're too slow, that's fine, but never miss because you shot too early. Be practicing lining it up and taking the shot only when you're on the head. Sort of trust that the speed will come with repetition and all of the steps will sort of become automatic and you'll get faster. But you won't necessarily become more accurate unless you put very careful attention on it. In previous iterations of the guide, I said that you might want to spend time like doing little circles on the bots' heads, sort of wake up your micro adjustment muscles and outline the heads or trace where the head is. That might be good to do. Kind of undecided. It could just be better to focus on doing super fine micro adjustments so you're exactly centered. And that should mean you get more exactly centered when you're moving faster, you get less affected by first bullet inaccuracy, all that good stuff. Okay. So after you shot some easy bots, hopefully just relaxing and telling yourself you can shoot easy bots and you don't miss, because you don't rush shots. Your aim is patient, whatever kind of self-affirmation you need, then it's time to go up to medium bots. Again, we're trying to make this learning curve as gradual as possible, so it's not too steep. You can always speed it up later. But we're gonna practice the same overflicking movement on the medium bots without shooting. And this is good because it brings you up to the speed of your end goal speed. This is real-time speed. But you're not shooting yet. You're just attempting to park the crosshair appropriately on the bot's head. You're not incorporating dead zones. We're just breaking down all of the parts of the drill and practicing them individually before we put them together. Because that takes a lot of the stress out of it, and it allows you to see which parts limit you. Like, is it your flick speed? Is it your movement? Are you constantly moving the wrong way? Do you flick too slow? Do you not take enough time to micro adjust? The other good thing about not shooting is it helps you see how much time you actually have to take a shot. So I like to do that twice. And I try to mentally keep track of how many times I am actually on target. Because that's sort of my theoretical upper bound on how many bots I could kill assuming that I could click at the perfect time, and that I could click without moving my mouse at all, without like flinching or whiffing. Like, it's important to know whether you're limited by like the process of clicking your mouse or by everything that leads up to that. So you just split the steps apart. After you do that twice, it's good to try the exact same thing on hardbots. Again, like, this forces you to see how automatically you move in the right direction or the wrong direction, as the case may be. And it also makes the medium bots seem very doable and slow. And if you can relax while, struggling to get your crosshair anywhere near the hard bots, then it'll be much easier to relax while you're doing it near the medium bots, or while you're attempting the overflicking drill with the medium bots. Okay, after you do that, it's finally time to do the overflicking drill on the medium bots. Okay, so I got 17, which is not a great score nor a bad score. It's just under the benchmark, but it's not bad for a first run. And when I started this, as I said, I started with 3. It seemed impossible. It seemed like the bots were just despawning before I could even get close. So I like to do this a couple times. And then once I feel like I can hit 20, or once I have hit 20 once, then I try to do 5 with no restarts and write down my score for the day. Oops, I rushed that shot. Just in my own practice right now, I'm sure I have a couple of issues. One of them is getting like pumped when I get close to 20, and then I get tense and start whiffing. So I have a sort of artificial ceiling on my score. That I trust I'll work out with, just more exposure to this drill. Sometimes I rush my shots. When I watch back, I see that sometimes I click before a bot despawns. The other thing is, like, I think I'm just playing a little too much Valorant right now. I need to go touch grass, get some good quality sleep, maybe take a break from all of this mechanics training. So we'll do that. I just wanted to record this for Woohoojin's community before I take a break. Mainly because I really enjoyed seeing Wintermute practice his. I took his video and I played it in the background when I was doing my own practice. And it was cool to have him narrate the steps while I was doing it. So I did 15. Again, acceptable, but not great. All right, now I'm going to try to lock in. I probably won't say anything. I'm going to do 5 in a row and write down my score for the day. Actually, I'm going to do some push-ups first, just to wake up a little. See how that was as an intervention. So my workflow is I write down what I get on a little piece of paper next to me, and then I copy it into an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheets spreadsheet at the end of the practice session. So that's one. Do it again. Oof. I'm going to refrain from saying my scores so you can see them in the recording if you want to, but like you might have more than me, you might have less. It doesn't really matter. It's just what you're getting today, and it's the process of improving over time that matters. Excuse me. Got 2 more to go. Starting again. Try to do these straight up, for lack of a better word, without restarting, even if I start badly, just to record how I was doing on any given day. So my median score today was 15, which doesn't meet the benchmark. Kind of embarrassing, given that this is a video on how to meet the benchmark, but I've done it before as the median of 5 runs. As I said, I've been up late a couple nights, nerding out over Masters Tokyo. It's not making me better at the game, that's for sure, at least locally. All right, after you do that, then you want to warm up your dead zoning. However you do that. I just like dead zoning bullets into the wall. You can definitely overdo this. So sometimes I just turn infinite ammo off. Run one ghost out of magazines. Try to get as few blue lines as I can, just to make sure that that's not the limiting factor in this exercise. And then also on medium bots, you want to bring back the no-shoot drill, but incorporate a dead zone. Sort of mentally keeping track of how many you would hit if God himself were clicking for you. Twice. The whole point of this is to see, like, this is where the whole drill comes together. If you can overflick an appropriate amount, like a couple head lengths, notice how much you overflicked by, and then dead zone back that entire amount, then you can kill anyone without having to track their head. Like, tracking is a difficult task, but hitting one cheeky dead zone is much easier. That's why I think this is overpowered. Because you're essentially like, how do I hit this target over here if I'm over here? Well, I know I can do that. So why don't I move my mouse here and then do that? That's what I think makes this so good, is while you're just doing that, or sorry, while you have someone, you overflick them, you dead zone back, they're trying to like track you as a moving thing, whereas you're just trying to overflick and then dead zone. Oh, I need to turn infinite ammo back on. I know that's sort of the whole point of the drill. It's like, yes, you overflick and then you correct movement. And that's strong because, you know, dead zoning is strong. You never stop moving. So, do that however you need to get a feel for it. If you're nowhere close to the head, like you don't have, I would say, I don't know, maybe like 10, where you know you could get the shot done if you had perfect clicking, then maybe just keep doing the no-shoot drill, paying attention to how it goes. No shame in doing it on medium if you need to. If you have a good number where if you had perfect clicking, you would have done it, then feel free to move on to the shooting exercise. I'm going to do that now. try to do at least one where I don't keep track of the score. I clicked way too early there. If they spawn like directly where my crosshair is, I just click and move on. But if they spawn close, I do try to overflick at least a little bit and hit them. Again, do as many like unrecorded ones as you need to get comfortable with the drill. Try to do it in a relaxed way. Find a good posture, whatever that means to you. Feel your feet on the floor. Lock in. Don't stress about it. Flick through the head. Correct movement, micro adjustment. I don't find this any more difficult necessarily than doing the drill without the dead zoning, because sometimes you strafe too far, but when you're dead zoning, you can stop your movement aggressively by hitting a key. Sometimes that's more intuitive than lifting. I'm sure I missed some because I whiffed the dead zone, but I think I also hit some because I am dead zoning, so my scores end up being pretty similar. But again, it's good to separate the components and practice them in isolation before you put them all together. Once you feel like you're good with that, try to do 5, where you do write down the scores. Flick through the head, strafe back that amount, take the shot. I got 13 on my first one, which is a terrible beginning. Doesn't quite meet the standard, but I can still bring this back. Again. It can be tricky to stay present while doing this. Like, I noticed that I'm worried about publicly whiffing the target today, and I'm not getting a median score of 15. I'm worried about, like, does this recording produce any useful data to me, or is the only conclusion that I can draw afterwards that I was just tired today due to Masters Tokyo? But just try to await the next bot. When it's on your screen, flick through it. Execute your dead zone shot. Take things one bot at a time. Easier said than done. If you don't meet it today, you might meet it tomorrow. I've met it before. I'm not worried about meeting it again. If you do this for a couple couple days or a couple weeks and you actively reflect on which part of which link in the chain is limiting you, there's no way you don't improve if you figure out what small improvements you could make to get one additional bot per run, or 2 or 3, and then just do, if you start from 0 and you make 15 improvements that allow you to get 1 bot each, you meet the benchmark. And just like that, I hit 20, so I'm happy with that. Right back to 13. All right, so that's 4 runs. I'll do this one last time. The last thing I'll say is try to enjoy the process. To me, I just find the mechanics of Valorant very satisfying, especially one-taps, especially dead-zoned one-taps. I think it's my favorite thing to do in the game, has been since before I even found, Woohoojin and his community. And this is that, and it's just that distilled. So it's fun to, to me, this is Valorant almost more than competitive is. It's the process of identifying what's limiting you in ranked and then doing ranked just to see if you made any progress during training. Training's where it's at. And it's also one could argue that you're doing this a little bit weird because all you're really doing is measuring how you're doing on any given day. Maybe you do 3 unmeasured runs and some training of the individual components, but more than anything, you're just testing yourself. So I could see someone arguing this is a bullshit method for improvement. Imagine you just weigh yourself every day and you expect that to help you lose weight. But first of all, I know people for whom that's worked. They just sort of set an intention to weigh themselves every morning and lose a small amount of weight over a long period of time. And lo and behold, their graph goes down and to the right. My graph, as I've been doing this over the past 3 weeks, is moving up and to the right in terms of number of bots that I can kill. But I think it's more analogous to something like strength training, where the way you get stronger is by lifting weights, and the way you figure out how strong you are on any given day is by lifting weights. So you just keep doing this testing, and the testing actually improves you over time. Anyway, enjoy your journey. Good luck.